When Allah begins to guide someone, the first sign is an internal war against the very things they once loved. You may remember a time in your life when sin felt normal. You may have laughed at it, shared it, even celebrated it. But now, something has changed deep within. The same sin that once brought you joy now makes your heart uneasy. The gatherings, the music, the language, the company, none of it feels the same. It's not because someone lectured you. It's not because society changed. Speaking about, it's because your heart changed. That is the mercy of Allah at work inside of you. Speaking about. You could be scrolling through your phone and suddenly feel disgusted at something you once enjoyed. Speaking about, you could be at a place you used to frequent and now you feel like a stranger among people who used to be your closest friends. You begin to excuse yourself. You begin to isolate not out of arrogance, but out of fear. Fear of falling back, fear of displeasing your Creator, fear of losing this new light inside you. That fear is a blessing. That restlessness you feel when you're surrounded by sin is a sign that your soul is being reawakened. There was a time when disobedience came easily. It was effortless. There was no guilt, no conflict. But now, even if you slip, you feel the weight of your mistake pressing heavily on your chest. You can't sleep peacefully. You can't smile sincerely. You keep thinking about what you did. That regret is not weakness. It is strength. It is guidance. It is Allah telling you, you are better than this. You are mine, and I want you back. What a powerful love that is. So if your heart is starting to resist sin, do not ignore it. Do not numb it with more disobedience. Do not drown it in distraction. That small voice inside of you, the one that trembles when you lie, when you backbite, when you miss a prayer, is not ordinary. He's speaking about. That voice is proof that you are not abandoned, that you are being guided. The first steps toward Allah are rarely loud. They are quiet tremors within, a sigh, a tear, a moment of shame. But those steps are more precious than gold. They are the foundation of transformation. One of the most powerful signs that Allah is guiding you is when you begin to constantly seek forgiveness. Not because someone told you to, but because your soul feels burdened. You could be walking down the street, driving your car, lying in bed, and suddenly your heart whispers, Astaghfirullah. Not once, not twice, but over and over again. You find yourself asking for forgiveness without even realizing it. That is not coincidence. That is divine intervention. When a person is guided, they no longer want to carry the weight of their past. Even if their sins are hidden from the world, they are heavy on the heart, and that weight pushes them toward repentance. You start remembering things you did years ago, things you never even repented for, and you feel an urgency, a desperation to cleanse yourself before you meet your Lord. You say, Allah, forgive me. And in that moment, speaking about, angels write down a good deed for every sincere word of repentance that escapes your lips. Repentance is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of spiritual awakening. Some people sin and feel nothing. Others sin and can't sleep. Which one are you about? If you feel that guilt, that discomfort, then know that your heart is alive. Speaking about, the worst thing that can happen to a person is to sin and feel nothing. But if Allah loves you, He will not let you rest until you return to Him. He will make the sin bitter. He will block your enjoyment of it. He will keep you restless until you beg for His mercy. And when you do, He welcomes you with more love than you can imagine. You might cry. You might tremble. You might even say, how can I face Allah after everything I've done? But don't forget, it is He who placed that question in your heart. It is He who inspired you to seek Him. You were chosen. Out of millions, speaking about, you were selected to feel remorse, to feel pain, and to seek redemption. That is guidance. So if your days begin to revolve around forgiveness, if your tongue is moist with istighfar, if your heart longs to start over, then understand you are not just changing, you are being guided. Your soul is responding to its creator. And the most beautiful transformations always begin with repentance. When Allah wants good for someone, He pulls them toward His words. The Qur'an begins to call out to them in a way no other book ever could. You may have walked past a mushaf on your shelf for years, untouched, gathering dust. But now something tells you to open it. Not because someone told you to. Not because it's Ramadan, but because your heart craves it. You want to hear your Lord. You want answers. You want peace. And you begin to find it in His words, speaking about. You might not understand everything you read at first, but your heart feels the difference. Be speaking about. You feel like the verses are speaking to your situation. You cry when you read about forgiveness. You pause when you come across about mercy. It's as if the Quran knows exactly what you're going through. And that's because it does. It's not just a book. It's a conversation between you and your Lord. And when that conversation begins, know that guidance has entered your life. Prayer becomes less of a burden and more of a retreat. The moment you say, Allahu Akbar, the world begins to fade. You find yourself looking forward to sujood. You begin talking to Allah in your own words. You start to pray extra rakahat, not to show off, but to spend more time with the one who never left you. That change in attitude, that desire to connect, to worship, to recite, is a sign of divine nearness. There are people who are forced to pray. Others pray just to avoid guilt, speaking about. But then there are those who feel lost without prayer. If you're becoming one of them, speaking about, then know your heart is being nurtured by Allah Himself. The 5 daily prayers are not obligations alone. They are gifts. And when you start to see them that way, know that you are being guided. You've been chosen to stand in front of the King. You've been invited 5 times a day to meet Him. And only those whom He loves find joy in that invitation. There comes a time when the noise of the world no longer satisfies the soul. When the trends, the fame, the luxury, all of it begins to feel shallow. What once seemed like success now feels like a distraction. When Allah guides someone, He strips away the illusions of this world one by one. He allows you to see through the glamour. He makes you question your goals, your pursuits, your attachments. He redefines what matters. You could be watching something entertaining and suddenly it feels empty. You scroll through your feed and it no longer excites you. You buy something new and it brings you no joy. That's not depression, that's awakening. That is the heart being pulled toward something greater, toward Jannah, toward eternity. Speaking about the pleasures of this world begin to taste bland when your soul is being fed by something purer. You start enjoying silence more than noise, reflection more than entertainment, charity more than consumption. Speaking about, you don't care about impressing others anymore. You care about pleasing your Lord. Be speaking about. And even though the world may think you've lost your spark, only you know that your soul has never felt more alive. You begin to understand that the purpose of life is not to collect, but to give. Not to shine in the dunya, but to prepare for the akhirah. Losing interest in dunya is not a sign of failure. It's a sign of perspective. It means Allah has shown you what matters. He has placed light in your heart and removed the obsession with fleeting pleasures. And if your desires are shifting from worldly to divine, know that you are being guided by the most merciful. Speaking about, one of the most overlooked signs of guidance is hardship. Not every test is a punishment. Many times it is a sign of love. When Allah wants to bring you closer, He may break your comfort. He may shake your world. not to harm you, but to redirect you, speaking about to wake you up, to pull you out of your distractions and bring you into His care. If you've ever cried on your prayer mat during a time of trial, that moment was not weakness. It was intimacy. There are people who face problems and drift away from Allah. Then there are those who face storms and fall into sujud, weeping. If you're the second type, know that your trial is a tool of purification. Your pain is not wasted. It is shaping you, refining you, speaking about, humbling you. It's forcing you to realize that this life is temporary. It's showing you how fragile you are and how strong your Lord is. If your hardship has increased your dua, your tawakkul, your closeness to the Qur'an, then you are not just surviving, you are growing. You are responding to divine love with submission. That response is not normal. It is a sign that your heart is guided, because only a guided heart turns to Allah in pain. An unguided heart blames Him. But a guided heart finds Him in the darkness, trusts Him in confusion, and holds on to Him even when there's no clarity. You begin to notice that the more you turn to Allah, the more peace enters your heart, even if your situation doesn't change. That peace is proof that guidance is at work. It's not the removal of the test that signals His love. It's the remembrance of Him during the test that proves it. When you begin to notice these signs unfolding in your life, when your heart turns away from sin, when your soul longs for forgiveness, when the Qur'an and Salah feel like a refuge, when the world loses its glitter in your eyes, speaking about, and even when trials drive you to your knees in sajud, understand that you are not lost. You are being guided. Allah has placed His light within you, and that light will never mislead you. Guidance is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes speaking about it. Sometimes it's found in a tear that rolls down your cheek in the middle of the night. Sometimes be speaking about. It's in the discomfort you feel around things you used to enjoy. But it is always sacred. It is always a gift. And the more you respond to it, the stronger it becomes. Keep walking that path, even if you stumble. Keep turning back, even if you fall, speaking about. Because the one who is guiding you is not looking for perfection. He is looking for sincerity. And as long as you keep striving, He will never abandon you.